Wow.
Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped. Something.
I wasn't expecting that either.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny. I haven't seen that before.
And it feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things, of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
So, any issue that you'd like to explore, anything that's getting in your way, or a part of yourself that you'd like to get to know better?
My general disposition for the past couple of years has been frustration about not being able to move forward and to sort of get some of the things in life that I really have wanted all my life,
Mm-hmm.
Then most of those involve relationships, I had one marriage, when I was young, somebody I met when I was in high school, and we had 3 children together. We were together 20 years, but he had some addictions, and it ended up with a violent situation that I just could not remain in the marriage. So we got divorced. We remained friends, and we parented our children well, but I ended up at 40 on the market again. Mm-hmm. Not something I ever thought would happen. And so it took 5 years, but I got remarried, and that marriage turned out to be to a really nice and well-educated man who has a learning disability, it turns out. And once we got married, he became very codependent, and it just sort of sabotaged the whole marriage. And I developed chronic fatigue from all of the stress I've been through in my life, starting from, childhood, to, current. And so it's made it really hard to become independent, start a career, work my own hours, because at this point I'm not well enough to work a 9-to-5 job. Mm-hmm. So I need to be able to work on my own time. And I have done some training. I've gotten some certifications that could lead to a decent income and career, but I still have, I think my emotional side and all the processing of trauma and triggers get in the way of me being able to really put everything into it, build the business, make the money, and get out of the situation I don't want to be in, and kind of have, not be dependent anymore, and be, have control of my life, and find new relationships, new friends, and, a new love relationship.
Yeah.
So, and get a divorce in there somehow too. So right now I just feel very stuck, and it just seems like it just goes around and around and around, and I can't get out of it. And recently I have signed up to work with a woman who does hypnotherapy um, and neuro-linguistic programming.
Mm-hmm.
She's a master of both of those. And I'm hoping that if there's something subconscious, about this, that we can break through quickly, would be great. And I know that all these practices, like IFS and some other things, are probably really helpful as well. So
Yeah.
I want to move forward. I'm stuck, and I'm lonely. I want to be, I want to be more independent so that I have more choices in the relationships that I have.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So putting that in parts language, I hear kind of a part of you is frustrated, a part of you is hoping that it's something subconscious. A part of you doesn't want to be dependent anymore, so that you have more choices. So does that sound right? Just kind of that.
Yeah, more agency, more control over whether or not I can pursue the things that I want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So would you like to explore one of those parts? Would it make sense to explore, for example, just the frustration in general?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So when you're dealing with that frustration, where in or around your body do you feel it? Is it located?
Let me think about that. If I feel it in the left side of my head, so maybe my almost left brain kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and also my throat.
Okay.
And also maybe in my solar plexus belly area,
Mm-hmm.
power center.
And are there any other definitions or qualities you feel about that? Is it a push, a pull, a tension, a color, a vibe?
Yeah, on the left side of my head and into my throat, it's like this gray color. And in my belly, it's like yellow, like a power, I don't know, like bright yellow.
Okay.
But the feeling is just tension and tightness. Like there's a fight. Like I'm like it's like it wants to fight or something. It wants to fight.
Okay. So
It's angry.
Okay. So as you notice that angry part, the part that wants to fight and it's causing those feelings, how do you feel towards it?
I feel mad at it because it's got an awful lot of power, but it's not accomplishing anything I want it to accomplish.
Yeah. Okay. So if our goal is to get to know it, then can you ask the part of you that feels mad at it for a little bit of space in this conversation and to step back or soften so that we can get to know this tense, tight part and just see how it reacts?
It's kind of okay. I'll just stand over here and watch.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would suggest. It can stand over there and watch, and if it needs to jump in, it can, but if it will kind of soften so that we can get to know this tense part, that would be great.
Mhm.
Okay, and now how are you feeling towards the tension?
There's a little less pressure on it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have the curiosity of wanting to get to know it?
I would say yes, because I imagine that it's not really what I think it is. Like, if I actually got to know it, it might be transformed. I'm probably making it something that is more harmful to me than it actually is.
Yeah, we'll find out. So see if you can let that tense, tight part know that you are curious and that you want to use this opportunity to get to know it better. And then try asking it, what does it want you to know? And just wait for the answer.
Well, it's funny because I kind of started asking it, what does it need?
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, and so, yeah, I'll ask it the same question that you just said. What does it want me to know?
Yeah, or what does it want you to know about it? And just wait for the answer. Don't think of an answer.
It says it's trying really hard, but nobody else, meaning none of the other parts are helping.
Yeah. And does that make sense to you, what it's saying? You don't have...
Yeah, I kind of think it is the only part that's doing any. It's in a sense, if I really look at my landscape about, well, who else is pulling, who else is helping. Well, my brain is trying to think things through and use logic and whatnot.
Sure.
And my body is only somewhat cooperative because I have chronic fatigue, so my days are shorter and I don't have as much energy, and I have to be really careful of even what people I expose myself to sometimes. Yeah. So I think it thinks, well, look, I'm ready. I'm working at this, but you guys got to help because I can only perform these functions, and I need you guys to perform the other functions to pull the whole thing together. So, that's what it's saying.
Okay, so let it know that you hear it and that makes sense to you. How does it react to that?
I think it understands the limitations, but it wants to know if there's a solution.
Yeah, well, we might be able to get to solutions. We're just going to keep asking it questions, and through understanding it, and understanding what it needs and what its wants are and everything, hopefully we can find solutions or find a different role for it if it would like one.
It also feels trapped. Like, it just feels trapped. It feels stuck, trapped, like, I don't want to be like this or in this position anymore.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I'm, in kind of a prison.
Yeah. And does that make sense to you, what it's saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just keep showing it that makes sense to you. And try asking it what it's afraid will happen if it doesn't do that job, if it doesn't get your attention that way with the tightness and the tension. What is it afraid will happen?
Well, seeing as I think it feels like the other parts aren't really doing much of anything, that they'll continue to do. If nobody's doing anything, then I'll never get out of this situation. So if none of the parts are willing to, or, if they don't step up and do anything, then they won't, nobody will be doing anything.
And what's bad about that? I mean, what is the situation that it's afraid of being in?
Sleeping alone for the rest of my life.
Yeah, loneliness.
Loneliness. Not being able to make enough money to really live a comfortable life.
Yeah.
And not having or being trapped in a marriage I don't want to be because of money.
Yeah. Does that all make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So try to just show it that it makes sense to you. And see if you can show it some appreciation for wanting to keep you safe, wanting to keep you away from being broke, being dependent, and being lonely. Because those are real things that it's really working hard to protect you from. So just show it some appreciation for that difficult job it's doing. See how it reacts.
It's kind of funny because it reminds me of people in my life, and it's the only part with a sense of urgency, it seems. And the other parts don't seem to have a sense of urgency. It's like, I got people like that in my life.
Yeah.
So I can understand.
Yeah.
But I think it understands it. I mean, it's not really thought about it, but that part understands that the other parts are the way they are, not because they want to be, but because they still require time to heal physically. And,
Sure.
when you've had trauma, your brain, if you have brain fog, or if you have difficulty making decisions, things like that, or if you have energy problems like I do with chronic fatigue, and they are related, I think it understands, but it's still frustrating. Like,
it's managed. It feels like
frustrating not knowing how long it's going to be before it gets any help.
Yeah, it feels like it's managing the whole system, or the other parts that aren't doing their part. It's trying to protect you from being lonely, and it has a difficult job to do.
Yes.
So how does it react to you showing it your understanding and just appreciation for taking on that job, even if you wish things were done differently? At least it's intention. How does it react to that?
Well, I think it likes the phrase that it's doing what it's doing to keep me from being lonely, because that's huge.
You say it likes the phrase?
It's huge. It's a very valid and important thing that it's doing, and that's sort of acknowledgement.
And can you see this part? How close can you get to it?
It's like the main part of it that I'm talking to is literally right behind my left eye.
Can you see yourself?
Like that's where I feel.
Yeah. Can you kind of try like imagine kind of turning towards it and really just expressing directly to it your appreciation and your understanding of the job it does?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the rest wants to help. I mean, the other parts want to help. I want to help, but the other parts want to help.
Yeah.
And they're frustrated too that they can't just, do more just to kind of break out of this situation.
Try asking it if you
They're high maintenance. They're high maintenance, the other
Well,
parts.
perhaps, yes. So what if you were to take the management position of the other parts and you were to able to free it up from its job so that it didn't have to work so hard and it didn't have to manage the other parts? What might it like to do inside of you instead?
I think it wants to be the part that holds the goals and the vision. You know, keeps me heading in the right, keeps the whole group of us heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
And keeps that vision and doesn't lose it because, it also has passion for that vision. So.
Yeah, so it wants to stay kind of on the big picture and course setting. It sounds like it has some wisdom to.
And yeah, I'm keeping the passion alive for it instead of, because otherwise I might just give up.
Right.
I might just give up and say, you know what, I'll never get there. So that's the part of me going, no, you're not giving up. No, you're not giving up.
Yeah. So it's protecting you from that too. It's protecting you from what giving up would be, which might be, I don't know what it would be for you, but it could be depression or
right.
Yeah.
Right. It would be giving up on ever, it'd be quitting trying to get to where I want to be, where I could be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And in a happier home, happier relationship environment, whatever.
Try asking it how old it thinks you are and just wait for the answer.
More than anything else, I'm getting 14.
Okay. So go ahead and update it on your real age. It might. It sees you as a 14-year-old, and that might have a lot to do with why it feels like it needs to manage all these parts.
I think it also feels like it needs to take care of the part.
Right. Right.
Like too young to take care of themselves, kind of thing.
Right. And if you were 14, that would probably be true. But by updating it with your real age, you're trying to show it that you have some new tools since the age 14. Then you might be able to take care of some of these other parts or heal them or motivate them or whatever they need so that it doesn't have to work so hard doing that. And then try asking it.
A little reluctant to let go. But, I can envision shifting the power in all the parts to where I'm in the driver's seat. And if that was less, if there was less tension, less stress coming from that, and things were more balanced, I would not be as reactive or, I wouldn't have as much. I could maybe focus more on where I'm going instead of the I don't know if it's like the fires or whatever that I keep having to put out with that part.
Yeah.
The fear, whatever that it keeps bringing up that I have to deal with and beat down or work through or whatever. And if I didn't have to do that, I wouldn't have to expend so much energy moving forward and just if I had some balanced health, like, okay, I've got the brain helping, I've got the vision holder and the person, the one with the passion and the ideas and the whatever.
Yeah.
And I've also got, the energy and the, and maybe they're on the weaker side, maybe they're, not as strong, but, if it were more balanced, I wouldn't feel like I was always being pulled in the direction of the fear.
Right. And that would be
literally is to the left.
Yeah, that would be the kind of the next step, which we won't do in this call, but we can do in the future if you like, which is going to those parts that do feel quieter, weaker, afraid, afraid of being alone, etc. Those parts that might, they're not able to express themselves in a way that's helpful, and seeing if and healing them by figuring out what is burdening them and finding new roles for them and inviting them to join you again in this post 14-year-old era that you're in, because a lot of them are probably would have the same answer, that that these parts get stuck in time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all operating on that kind of, that's where they think things are.
I think that whatever part is in the power set, like more of the energy, the one related to energy, it just feels so ineffective, and it feels so ineffective.
Yeah.
And I think there's a bit of inadequacy or shame or something. Like, I think can't, I just can't muster. I can't get better. I can't get better.
Absolutely.
I can't muster. No matter what I do, I can only do this much and no more. And I know I need to be able to do more to get out of this. And so I can do some, but I can't do enough to get us out of this.
Yeah.
And the brain part is just, or, the part that kind of represents, my logic center or whatever, my brain, it's sort of, it feels a little scrambled because, when you're dysregulated, your brain is, your frontal lobes aren't working right.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's always stress, then your brain is kind of scrambled, and it wants to think straight in a way and not be so dysregulated and scrambled, trying to put out a whole bunch of fires and think through a lot of problems. It would rather just be able to, be creative, and work on the solution from a point of like more calmness and creativity.
Yeah. Those are all parts that, I would suggest in future work, just accessing each of those. And I'll point out that it is a hallmark of the what we call exiled parts, to have that feeling of inadequacy and shame. That's the source of it for pretty much everyone, I think, is parts that are feeling that way, and they can't be effective because they don't want to overwhelm the system, or the system won't let them come out for fear of that overwhelm. So working with those parts and getting comfortable with them, finding new roles for them, finding ways that they can express themselves, and unburdening them so that they're not dealing with that and showing up in that way. If we can go back, I just have one more question for this part that causes the tension, which is for you to ask it what it needs from you in the future.
It's talking more to the part of me that represents the energy center, the lack of energy or whatever. And it wants it to stop thinking or acting like it's so helpless.
Yes. That's what it's protecting you from. Yeah. And so that's the work that you could do. It wants you to heal that part.
Yeah, which means that I have to assess whether that help, what part of that helplessness is real and what part just is not, is shame and other things.
Well, if you're feeling it, then it's real, and the work would be similar in that you sit with that part and you listen to it, and you just sit and listen and ask questions, just like we did with this part. And we're not trying to make any of these parts go away, and we don't want to, we wouldn't invalidate any of their feelings. We would just listen and make suggestions about how they might, again, kind of be updated on the timeline and figure out what they need from you so that you can keep them safe and they don't have to fend for themselves as much.
Yeah. They're conversing at the moment. So,
yeah. Just make sure that you're in there too, because they've been.
Well, I'm listening. At the moment, I'm a referee. At the moment, I'm just sort of listening.
Great.
And the energy part is saying, well, I forget what was going on. It was sort of saying, I wouldn't feel so helpless if you just kind of, it's telling that fear or that frustration part, but if it would stop bringing up so much fear all the time, or flooding the whole system with fear, then it wouldn't be so inundated with fear that it felt helpless and that the energy that it had wasn't enough.
Right. So by you helping this tense part feel less fear, that's one way that you can take some of that pressure off of that vulnerable part, that what you're calling the power part.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to, these parts don't have to be mediated by each other. You can be the source, you can be the referee or the leader, and they can express what they need to you. If they're not getting along so well.
Yeah. So if I'm listening to that going on, and it's almost like siblings fighting or something.
It's exactly that way. Yeah. So that's the internal family.
Oh, duh. Yes. That's funny that I would even say that. Okay. So, if that were the case and I'm listening, is it because I should not be allowing them to speak to each other? I should be asking them directly myself and then relaying information back and forth?
Well, again, I think the current dynamic in which everyone has is that the parts, they've been working together or working in opposition to each other for a long, long time. Maybe decades. So they have familiarity, and those are kind of old pathways for them. So yes, that self-leadership is when you come in and you say, okay, parts, you're all valuable to me. I need to know what you need, what you want, what you can offer, and how I can help you. And maybe these parts should work together more. Maybe they should work together less. But you are the ultimate mediator and leader by going in and having those conversations.
Which is funny because without any awareness, and I'm a pretty self-aware person, so this is crazy. But without any awareness, they've been running, I mean, just pushing the real me self out of the picture forever,
Right.
for my whole life.
Right.
They've been pushing me out. And in some ways, I need to just come in and say, okay, there's a new sheriff in town. You know?
Right. And you do,
Not
and that leadership.
Not the bad way, but
well,
yeah.
And that could be the first, that's ultimately, yeah, you do want to have that kind of leadership, but like good leadership, it's kind of lead from behind. It's lead by understanding and listening. So
Right.
and again, you're not trying to a lot of people have this idea that, well, this part's frustrating, so I want to shut it down. And it's really kind of the opposite. It's like, it's been shut down. That's why it's yelling for your attention. It needs to be heard. It needs to be listened to, and it needs to be able to trust that you will continue listening to it. So you go in and you do that listening, and you establish a relationship with it, so that it doesn't have to keep getting your attention in a negative way. And you
Yeah, I just keep getting the sense that I'm righting a ship. Like it's
absolutely,
I'm bringing it kind of back into where it's floating and balancing, rather than listing too far one way or the other way all the time.
Absolutely.
And years ago I did some facilitator training for my job. So I was supposed to be facilitating conversations. I'm an engineer, but I had a lot in the way of social skills, and they're trying to push me up the management track. So they sent me away to some facilitator training because they wanted some of these really brainy scientists to be able to kind of have brainstorming sessions about how they were going to solve problems, or new creative ways that they could do things, or new creative projects. And these meetings were supposed to take place every month, and they wanted somebody who could facilitate the conversations. And sometimes, there's tensions, and sometimes, and that's kind of the role I feel like myself is in with these parts, as like you said, like listening and, so I'm facilitating this conversation, and, you're saving face for whoever might need their, face saving, and you're, not allowing one person to dominate, and you're not allowing the conversation to get off track down some crazy road that doesn't have anything to do or isn't very productive.
But importantly,
I feel like myself is the facilitator.
Yeah, importantly though, that has to come from, or when it comes from your, what we call the self, then it comes from a place of love. It comes from compassion, connectedness, curiosity. And so you might even run into another part that is more dominant, kind of wants to run the show, and you might come across that kind of part that wants to do it without the love. So there can be dozens of parts going on in there, and learning the landscape, and again, giving them each time alone with you so that you can understand how they got that job, where they come from, what their experience was like, especially these younger parts, these parts that have the shame, and, there's 2-year-old parts and 5-year-old parts in there that need you to understand them, and need to be able to tell their story, and sometimes just need to be held, and loved. So that's the work that takes time, but it's that's the process.
Wow, I need to do more.
Yeah.
Just with what I've got, I have a lot to go on.
Sure. Well, we can talk more, get on that calendar again if you'd like, or if there's any other way that we can work together. I'm open to it.
Okay. I'll contact you.
Okay. Say thanks to your parts for showing up and for being courageous and in sharing themselves in this conversation.
Well, thank you. Thank you for doing this work.
Yeah.
And thank you for teaching a little bit more. Thank you.
Yeah. You mentioned that you might share feedback. If you want to do that now or later or never, feel free.
Well, I'll do that now. I like your demeanor. You're very sensitive, and I'm you know, there was no, I mean, you're good at it because you weren't leading in any way, or, you know, you were helping me learn how to facilitate, which is really good.
Yeah.
You were helping me learn how to facilitate this, you know, conversation that's going on inside of me. So I think that was really good. And I did. You know, I can see where there's probably parts I don't know are there yet. If I kept doing this work, I would probably unearth more of them. The 3 biggies that I know about now, I know more about, and I can see them so much more distinctly instead of the train wreck that's going on inside all of the time. And I know how I'm supposed to be. I mean, I've been reminded that I am the self that's supposed to be driving the train. So yeah. So I think it was excellent. And it's like, you know, what, 20 minutes?
That's the beauty
like
of it. Everyone can access
amazing.
it. You know, you and I don't know each other. We don't have to have, it's just like everyone speaks this language of parts, and everyone can turn inside and have that inner dialogue. They've been having those inner dialogues forever. This is just a way of saying, hey, you're not crazy for talking to yourself. In fact, that's the only way to get less crazy. Like, you need to finish those conversations.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I thank you. I don't know if you have anything else.
No, thank you very much. It was wonderful talking with you.
You too. I'll contact you by email.
Sounds good. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, James.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Zikri, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube, and they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.